Welcome to the Somewhat Frank podcast, hosted by entrepreneur, author, and investor Frank Gruber, and joined by entrepreneur, lawyer, and investor John Good Times Guidos. After each having successful startup exits, these two college friends cover a wide array of the latest trends and topics in tech, startups, investing, entertainment, and life. You'll notice they like to live life to the fullest with lots of adventure and believe in celebrating those important wins along the way. The podcast is produced with the help of Established, a strategic consultancy focused on corporate innovation, entrepreneurs, and the ecosystems that support and elevate them. Now it's time to be somewhat frank. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to the Somewhat Frank podcast. I'm Frank Gruber, your host today, and I'm joined by longtime friend and colleague and adventurer, Johnny Good Times Guidos. Thanks for joining again. How are we doing, Johnny?
Doing well, Frank. Great to be back. I took a week off to jaunt down to the islands for a nice little honeymoon, and got some rest and relaxation. Came back rejuvenated, ready to roll.
And you got married. Congratulations, John.
Thank you, Frank. Yeah, very excited for this new chapter of my life.
Awesome. Great. And it was a good time, too. And I'm also here, joined today by another special guest, Jen Consalvo. All your problems. Jen Consalvo from Established. Welcome back, Jen.
Thanks. Happy to be here today.
All right. Jen is all business today. We've got a lot going on in our world today. It's I don't know if you know this, but it's America's Seed Fund Week is right now, July 18th through 22nd. And what that means exactly is that there's a lot of events happening that showcase, celebrate, and educate everyone about the $4 billion in government funds that go into innovation, startups, inventions all over the U.S. Through the different agencies, everything from NASA to NOAA to NIH to EPA, so and many more, DOD, everything. So exciting week ahead, a lot going on. We're doing a lot from an established perspective with the week, so I wanted to just at least acknowledge that it's a little wild, and that's why Jen's all business, right, Jen?
Yes, it's a really important thing because there's so much opportunity, there's so much in funding out there, and not all companies know this. Startups out there who may be listening, if you do research development, you're developing new technologies, there may be an opportunity for you to tap into this undiluted money. So it's great this year, especially because it's the 40th anniversary of the program. So we're doing some special things. And maybe, John, you can mention a little bit about what's going on Friday to celebrate this 40th anniversary.
Absolutely. So yeah, the end of the week is going to be capped off with a special presentation of the Guidos Awards, which highlights some of the companies that have done amazing things since they were awarded their funds. And for everyone out there that's unfamiliar, the Tibbetts Award named after Mr. Roland Tibbetts, who was responsible for the creation of the program that award these public funds to innovators to help innovation in America, which has now led us to where we are today with America's Seed Fund, which continues to be ever evolving. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, really interesting, and interesting history there. Thanks, John. Was he part of NSF, right? He was an NSF person, National Science.
He started out, I believe it started with NSF, and then it went through Congress, Senate, all that sort of stuff, and then became America's Seed Fund.
Very interesting.
Yes, and for those of you listening, if you think supporting this type of innovation is important to the country, just consider contacting your congressional representatives, because every so often they have to vote to reauthorize the program. Maybe especially if you live in Kentucky, there might be some congressional representatives who might need a little nudging. But
they just need to understand the value is issue, right?
Exactly. All kidding aside, this is there are so many important innovations, from medications, inventions, things that are used in your home, in your computer, in your cars, in your doctor's offices, that would not have gotten off the ground without this type of funding that supports research and development. So we're very optimistic about America's Seed Fund and what it will continue to do for the country.
Absolutely. And so much going on this week. If you just want to find out more, just go to americasseedfund.us. A really simple URL. Website shares the information. So All right, lots of stuff going on. We're going to jump right in. We've got 5 things we've been thinking about and talking about, and a lot of people have probably been talking about. We'll jump in with the first one. It's been all over the news. It's pretty cool because we all love space and science.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Comparing the Hubble telescope to the James Webb. So I don't know if you're familiar, but there was this huge set of photos that were unleashed, I guess, on the world this past week or so, and they're basically very detailed infrared images of deep space, and the first time ever that anybody's seen what it could look like. If you go about what is it, past the sun or something like that, you go, how far is this? It's like a satellite they sent out there past the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many, 4 times past the moon, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, so pretty far out there, and they're looking at deep space, and it's the first full color, I guess, imagery. And so lots of funny memes out there because these are showing up everywhere, but also really interesting to see the amount of galaxies and just things out there that are beyond where we are.
Well, just way more detailed than what the Hubble could do. And what they're saying is they're going to be able to learn more about how elements of the universe, how they operate, what they are, how stars are formed, how stars die, all these interesting things.
Yeah, and I guess the interesting thing is also it's a little bit like time travel, because these images are more than 13 billion years old, which means that these galaxies were formed just a few 100 million years after the Big Bang theory. And so we're looking in the past, which is interesting. And some may say, well, why don't we look at the things that are happening now? But we don't need to go into that right now. But Johnny, what are you thinking?
I think it's the most interesting thing to me, right, is it like you said, we are looking back in the past, because by the time it's taking us to see that light from some of those stars and solar systems, et cetera, right, they're 13 billion years old. And then it also makes you realize how big that is, because if it takes a dot of light 13 billion years from where it's first generated to reach our satellite, we can't even imagine how big that is. So it just blows my mind. That puts things into perspective for me to some extent, anyway.
It's a jaunt. It's a little further than we thought.
Really tiny, and
yeah, we're like a speck.
We are literally like specks.
We're like specks of
smaller than
specks of space dust floating in the abyss.
I've also recently, and I don't want to get too theoretical here, but I've heard that we can't even fathom how big everything is, but to the point of, it's so big that the exact construct of molecules and atoms and evolution, et cetera, it has probably happened it's so big that it's probably happened the exact same that it happened on Earth that it's happened elsewhere. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, no, it would be really naive to say that it hasn't, right? Like to think like, oh no, we're the only thing that's ever been created in this way, and when we don't even understand what the heck we're looking at, really. Like if you think about it, we're looking at galaxies, we're looking at space gases, and they're beautiful imagery, but that's the 1 billion year foot view, not the macro look at it. So there's a lot there. So
right.
Interesting stuff, but to say the least. And hopefully they get some better photos, images in the future, even like of maybe dialing it even more, and looking at specific galaxies and things. So it'll be interesting to see what else. That's just the first set, and there's gonna be more. So
where do they even start though, right? I mean, because that picture is the size of a quarter, they say, if you hold it out arm's length or something like that. So yeah. I don't even know where you would, where do we even start? It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Well, one of them might be if they can detect possible chemical signatures of life on other planets.
So life on other planets, Johnny, that's what they're talking about.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, I did see that. I actually did see that they've found some, evidence of water on some of those other stars or planets.
I don't even know how they know that. Like that's because it's the gases?
It's a chemical signature.
Oh, wow. Right.
Now remember, this is looking 13 billion years back.
Right, so it might not be there anymore.
Over time.
Right. Oh wow, that's a lot. It's a lot to fathom. So chew on that one for a little bit. And as we do, we're going to talk about another article. It's non-related. It's there's a lifeguard shortage. So summertime, I don't know if you've been to the pool or to the beach or anything like that, but there's been a lifeguard shortage, not just maybe where you are, but all around the country. And I shared an article about the three critical drivers of the shortage. And, I'm thinking, well, summer's canceled. We got to close the pool. But no, not really. It's just that, kidding aside, there's a trend where, usually those jobs would go to high school students or maybe college students who have trained to be lifeguards, because it used to be a thing. People wanted to be a lifeguard. It's like a really cool thing to do in the summer. And now kids just don't work those jobs in the summer like they used to. And it's an interesting trend, and it's been trending this way for at least 10 to 15 years in a downward way, that kids are not working anymore in the summer.
Well, it's really interesting. There's been, again, like a lot of conversations about it, that it's easy to kind of say, oh, kids just don't want to work anymore. But there have actually been a lot of changes to the expectations of what kids do in the summer, right, which in some cases is more education. It's extracurricular activities. It's the things that they think are required to get into college or to maintain and be ready for the workforce. They're doing other things that take them away from paying jobs. And so I don't know, to me, that seems like a huge miss. I learned so much I worked every summer growing up, and I feel like it was really important and prepared me for working with people. And we definitely see it here.
What was your craziest summer job?
Oh gosh.
I know what mine is. Johnny, what was yours? You can start.
Yeah.
The craziest? I don't know. I've mowed a lot of lawns. I've mowed more lawns than I can ever imagine. You have to give me a second to think about that, because I've had a lot of crazy jobs. But
yeah. I grew up in a touristy town, so I did a few things. One is my dad was a lobsterman, so I painted his buoys in the summer. But I also worked at an inn, so it was like a seaside inn, and I did everything there from waiting on tables, doing the dishes, cleaning rooms. You name it, just doing stuff there. Also worked at like an ice cream stand, and we made lobster rolls and that kind of thing.
Fun.
So
yeah,
a lot of that
summer fun jobs,
waiting,
except for the cleaning the rooms part.
Waiting on people. That was a lot of fun.
So hospitality.
Hospitality,
interesting.
For sure.
My craziest was actually I did cut lawns and all that, John, as well. I started as just the I guess it'd be the clay pigeon tosser at a gun range where they would sporting range where they would shoot clay pigeons. I was hiding in this little hut, and I had to I literally got shot at every day. It was nuts. But I worked my way. Yeah, it was, but just a different clientele. I worked my way up to managing all the people that did that job, and managing the whole ground. So I became a groundskeeper for a sportsman club, and that was just a crazy job, because you saw a lot of interesting people, but also you did get shot at every day. And those arms that come and shoot those clay pigeons are super dangerous. And I had to deal with one of my friends that I'd hired end up getting hit in the face with it one day. So it was pretty crazy dangerous job, actually, now I think about it. And I can see why maybe parents may not want their kids doing that job. But anyways.
Wow. Frank, I've known you for 25 years and I've never heard that story. So I find that extremely interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, good times.
I would encourage every teenager. I think everyone should try to work in hospitality at least once, because I think it prepares you for working, just meeting all kinds of people and putting that smile on and learning, how do I work with these people? How do I get through this? It's just a good lesson.
All right, so we'll keep moving along. Jen, you mentioned lobster, and there is a lobster story that caught my attention, and we'll just drop it in right now, because we are in Maine and it is summertime, and so it's close to home. But there was this massive lobster found off the coast of Maine, and they're thinking it's 100 years old or more, which is kind of insane. You don't see that often, so we share a link in it. And have you ever seen a really old lobster?
Not that old, not that big, and I sure hope that big guy's protected now.
Yeah, it's a big lobster.
Because they've earned it.
Yeah, I think so. At this point, that's not going to end up on someone's table, hopefully, and he gets to ride off into the sunset of being a really old lobster. Although I do enjoy lobster.
That is a nice looking lobster. I couldn't even imagine how, you have to be pretty gritty to be able to live 100 years as a lobster, I would imagine, in the ocean with all of the predators, etc. So that's impressive. I applaud that lobster.
Absolutely. And the funniest, the craziest thing is, if you know anything about lobsters, is they actually do eat themselves sometimes.
They
They're cannibalized. Yeah.
They can be cannibalistic.
Yeah.
For sure.
So interesting nugget of information. We know a lot about lobsters.
Yeah. No, that guy rules the.
Yeah, he's like the ultimate warrior of lobsters. Anyway, moving along here. So we talked about jobs. We talked about lobsters. There's kind of, I mean, it goes kind of in line, I guess, with, protecting the kids a little bit. There's this article I shared that was in the New York Times about, addiction, chronic vomiting, psychosis, and it all is coming from weed becoming more potent and teens are getting sick. So basically, as cannabis has become more prevalent as a recreational thing and also becoming more legal all across the United States, you're seeing it become more readily available for kids. It gets in their hands. Anyway, the stuff that's being created now, because it is more being readily created everywhere, right, is actually way higher in the THC, toxic THC, I guess you could say, levels, and it's causing people to get sick. And so, it's not the 4% THC weed that used to be around when Woodstock happened, when it was like just someone kind of trying to create it on the side. Now it's being cultivated as a synthetic, almost like poison.
Well, it's 90% THC.
No, I know, 90% THC. It used to be 4%. So,
and sometimes these kids are vaping it multiple times a day,
which makes it even more potent. It's not even real anymore. So anyway, my concern is obviously anybody that has children, you think about this right away. If they this gets in their hands in some way or something similar like how alcohol did when we were all youngsters, it's dangerous. And so, and I even heard of some people like lace it now with fentanyl and kids are dying. Like, it's pretty scary stuff. I know we had DARE back in the day and that definitely worked for me. It didn't work for everyone, but I'm wondering, what do we do in this situation? And I wanted to bring it to some light on and bring it to attention for you all.
Yeah, that's scary stuff. I mean, when you start to get, that pure and that concentrated with anything, right? I mean, the rule to live by is everything in moderation. But when you're taking something 100% pure like that, I mean,
you're drinking Everclear as like a recreational.
Right. Exactly.
It's nuts.
Right.
So,
you're literally poisoning your body. And I think it's one of those things where we grew up, alcohol had been around so long, there was more education, right? We learned things in school. We learned things from our parents. Mm-hmm. This is so new.
Yeah.
It's still only a certain percentage of the country where it's legal, right?
Yeah.
There's still many states where it's not. So I don't think any states really have really wrapped their arms around how do we start educating youth, which is really what we need to worry about, right? Mm-hmm. We need to start real education programs in school and not be scared of this, because if it's going to be legal and it's going to be in a store, mm-hmm. we need everyone to understand the risks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what to look for and what they can and can't do.
I mean, it's only a matter of time before there's commercials, because there wasn't alcohol commercials up until a few years ago for hard alcohol anyway. Now it's everywhere, and so the same thing's going to happen eventually. It's a transitional. It's going to happen. It's going to go through that same timing. So anyway, yeah, definitely something to think about and obviously figure out a solution for it. But I don't know if anyone's thinking about it.
Well, not only that, and I don't want to belabor the point, but when you have varying levels of states dealing with it differently, you don't have a federal like the FDA, for example, right? You don't have a group overseeing some of these things and testing this stuff, and a minimum threshold to testing before distribution. Like, it's also a real issue if there's no uniformity around the laws concerning some of this stuff. So
absolutely. All right, so we got to keep rolling. We're trying to keep it tight, and so we'll move on to the next topic, which is kind of interesting. Scientists turn nuclear waste into diamond batteries, which last thousands of years. What? It doesn't even. Wow, is that real? Like, how does that even happen? So, lots of questions there. Interesting article. Jen, John, any thoughts?
That's the future, right? I mean, something that's small that can generate that much power for that long. I mean, that's going to impact space travel, right? That's going to, and I think isn't that what, Iron Man uses to power his suit in the Marvel movies? Yeah.
Right. Is this a comic book or something?
It is. We're moving in that direction. But I mean, I think that can't be understated. I think that alone is going to have a huge impact on the future of humanity, if it's true. I mean, it works out the way that they think it will.
Right.
And it's safe, I guess, too. That would be the other
bottom line is we need clean energy sources, right? And nuclear power, aside from the risks we've all, grown up hearing about, seeing, is considered a clean power.
Right.
So to be able to do something with the,
it's basically radioactive diamond batteries, is what
right,
they're calling it.
and turn it into something that can actually be used again. That's amazing.
It is amazing. So something to keep an eye on and think about as we look into the future.
Again, this is why funding innovation is so important,
right,
because it may sound like just something crazy out there, but this could literally change.
We wouldn't need certain things, like
right,
we wouldn't need certain energy sources, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the safety thing is the main thing that, they got to get around. There's a stigma around nuclear, which has got to probably be addressed. All right, moving along. We talked about the new, how cannabis is out there as a drug. This is a new drug that increases human lifespan 30%, according to Mayo Clinic. So a new study is out there, and these drugs boost key productivity proteins and basically protect the older people against aspects of aging and various diseases, like basically purging the cells that are
zombie cells.
Zombie cells, that's what they call them. I was picturing these cells as like walking around trying to eat people, but they're a little different. But they're in your bloodstream, and you can't get rid of them unless, I guess, this drug kind of purges them and allows you to get the newer, cleaner cells to maintain your good health. Pretty cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all looking for the fountain of youth, right? We all want to live longer. And if they're actually coming up with, safe drugs, that's the key term, right? Like, what are the side effects? What can this do to you? But if it can help people live longer, particularly if they have if other issues going on, that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Exciting research for sure.
Johnny, thoughts?
I mean, I don't know what else to say other than reiterate what you both said. I love it, and I just hope it works out and it's safe, and all those sorts of things are just amazing, and hopefully helping a lot of people out there.
Sign me up. But on that note, it is summertime, so we don't want to keep people. So thank you everyone for listening to Somewhat Frank podcast. Hopefully you're enjoying every moment of the summer out there with your loved ones and family and friends, and making memories happen. And I know we are trying to do that as well. You gotta take those little moments throughout summer, because it does go quick. Until next time, I'm Frank Gruber, along with Johnny Goodtimes Guidos and Jen Consalvo. We're signing off. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for listening to another Somewhat Frank podcast episode. Be sure to rate and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to celebrate your wins, small and large, with gratitude. It will make your journey more enjoyable. We'll be back soon with another episode.